Doing a little case update on a few cases here. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday to everybody here. We're going to be recording this live. This live is going to be uploaded to my YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about a few different cases here. We're going to be talking about Ellen Greenberg. We're going to be talking a little bit about Jonbenet Ramsey again. And then we're also going to be talking a little bit about Kelsey Fitzsimmons. So I'm going to give you guys breakdowns of all of those three cases. But again, I just want to make sure you guys know 3 cases we're going to talk about this morning. It's going to be Ellen Greenberg, Jonbenet Ramsey, and Kelsey Fitzsimmons. So I'm going to make sure to do 3 of those case updates. I'm going to give you guys a recap of each case. I'm going to go into some of the up-to-date details, and then we're going to do a Q&A so you guys can ask whatever questions you guys want. And then we're going to go right into the next case. So let's start from this one. So first off, again, guys, good morning and thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. This is Ellen Greenberg. This might seem pretty repetitive to some of you. If that's the case, you can just share this out, tap the screen, and then come back in about 15, 20 minutes when we go into the next case. This is Ellen Greenberg. So she was found unalived in her apartment in January 26th, 2011. The reason why we talk about this case is because there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding this case. Like, for example, the medical examiner changed her cause of her unaliving 4 times. Yes, 4 times. Also, on top of that, the last person to see her alive is also the same person to see her, to find her, unalived, was never considered a serious suspect. That was her fiance at the time. His name is Sam. So there was a lot of conspiracies around it, including an additional piece that I haven't said yet, which was an off-the-books conversation with the medical examiner and law enforcement officials and political officials. So yes, there was a lot of things that surrounded this case. So let's get right into it. January 26th, 2011, Sam Goldberg, which was her fiance at the time, finds Ellen Greenberg unalived on the kitchen floor. Now, she had 10 sharp object wounds to the front of her body. We can't say what it is, but it's a kitchen utensil. 10 sharp object wounds to the front of the body, 10 sharp object wounds to the back of her neck, upper shoulder area. So 20 complete wounds, right? Now, that day, January 26, 2011, she goes home from work early. She was a teacher. There was a blizzard going on out there. A lot of snow, a lot of wind. It was kind of crazy. So she gets to go home early. She goes and gets gas. She calls a restaurant. One of her friends worked there. She gets home. Sam's already home. Sam leaves the house around 5-ish at night and he goes to the gym. The gym is inside the apartment complex. So we do see him entering the gym. However, we don't know what he did while he was in the gym. There's no cameras in there. There's also no cameras in the hallway outside of Ellen Greenberg's apartment. So again, there's just cameras essentially going out into the hallway to where the gym is. That's all we saw him do. He emerges from the gym at around 5:38 p.m., 5:40 p.m. So he was only in there for a little over a half hour. He wasn't in there for very long. He's sweating like crazy, profusely. He gets back to the apartment, and what happens? He can't get into the house. He couldn't get into the apartment. The door was locked. Now, he had his key, but it had one of those security latches that you guys see at hotels. It was like a security latch. He couldn't enter the home. So now he says he goes downstairs and gets the security guard. And he says that the security guard goes upstairs with him to try to open the door, but the door wouldn't open. Well, the problem with that is that actually the security guard never went up there. If you guys watch this documentary, which is The Unaliving in Apartment 603, that concierge security guard never leaves his post. He gets away from the desk and stands in front of the desk, but he never goes up the elevator. You can see it on camera, the lobby camera. He never left his post. So why did Sam say he followed him upstairs? We'll get to that in a minute. So now Sam says he can't get into the house. He says he's banging on the door. He's yelling her name. He's texting her like crazy. He's calling her. But then again, nobody ever heard him banging on the door. No one heard him yelling her name. Only one neighbor allegedly heard this, and this was the neighbor that was the furthest away. It was literally down the hallway. None of the adjacent neighbors ever heard anyone banging on the door, knocking on the door, yelling Ellen's name. Not a single person. Some of Sam's statements that were pretty interesting is he said, she could have been on a work call, so she had her headphones on. She could have been washing her hair. She could have been in the shower. Could have been anything. Well, my question to you guys, if you guys have seen this documentary and you've seen these text messages, did you guys know that he didn't send a single message that said, hey, I'm outside. Hey, are you washing your hair? Hey, are you on a work call? Hey, are you in the shower? All those ideas that he came up with, he never sent out as a text message. Never. Never. The only thing he sent out as text messages is, what are you doing in there? You better have a good excuse. This isn't funny. I'm starting to get pissed off. Feel free. They're on my page. You can see a copy of those text messages. So it doesn't really make sense. You're acting as if like this could be an absolute accident or, something's going on, but you immediately went to anger. So yes, guys, he immediately went to anger. If you guys were paying attention to any of that, he went straight to anger. You better have a good excuse. Well, how do you go from telling the police maybe she's on a work call, maybe she's in the shower, maybe she's blow drying her hair? How do you go from that to you better have an excuse? How do you flip to that? Doesn't make any sense. If you guys are looking for this documentary, it rhymes with Beth. We can't say this word on TikTok, but Beth in apartment 603. Okay, you guys can find it there. Also, this took place in Pennsylvania. I think it's Mayunk, Pennsylvania. I can't even pronounce the name, but like Mayunk, Pennsylvania. Now, Sam's calling multiple times. He said he's banging on the door, texting. Nobody's answering the door. He doesn't know what's going on. What happens? He says he barrel asses through the door. He said through his shoulder. Gina, you're always there to correct me on the name of that town because I can never pronounce it. But Manayunk, I think is the name of it. He says he shoulders himself through the door. So, very, very interesting. He shoulders himself through the door and he says that he finds her and discovers her laying on the floor. How many of you guys had an opportunity to listen to the 911 call? By yes or no, how many of you guys had an opportunity to listen to the 911 call that Sam Goldberg had with 911 dispatchers? How many of you guys got a chance to hear that? Bunch of no's and a bunch of yeses. Okay, perfect. So he gets onto the 911 call and the 911 dispatcher asks him, is she on her back? She asked him again because he didn't listen. He said like, oh my God. Again, is she on her back? Sam Goldberg says, yes, she's on her back. Cool. How was she found, guys? If any of you have seen this documentary or you've seen the evidence photos, how was Ellen Greenberg actually found via evidence photos? Remember, he said she's on her back. And as Randy and Shannon just said, India Valley Girls just said, Laura Marie just said, she was found sitting up. Evidence photos have her sitting up against the cabinets on her bum in the kitchen with her head down like this. Like kind of hunched over like this. But her back is up against the cabinets. But Sam Goldberg said she was on her back. It's literally it's on my page. You guys can find it. You can listen to the 911 call. Sam Goldberg literally said she's on her back. Then how the hell was she found sitting up if she was on her back? That doesn't make sense. The next thing that didn't make any sense is that he said he looks and notices that sharp object, that sharp kitchen tool that was sticking out of her chest. He said, oh no, she poked herself. We can't say the real word, but she poked herself. Oh gosh, she fell on it. My question to you guys is, how did she fall on it if she was laying on her back? Can any of you guys answer that question for me, yes or no? How did she fall on it if she was laying on her back? Because remember, Sam Goldberg said she's on her back. Then how did she fall on it if she's on her back? How's that possible? Is that even a possibility? No. You can't unless you run into it or somebody does it to you. You can't fall on it and then end up being on your back. So that doesn't make any sense. So let's talk about the next thing. How many of you guys right now, if you found your significant other or your spouse laying down in a pool of red bodily fluids, would any of you hesitate to give CPR, yes or no? If you walked into your home and you saw your spouse or significant other on the ground with all those red bodily fluids all over the place, would you guys hesitate to even give CPR? Yeah, probably not. You would just go and do it, right? Well, what did he do? He was asked on the 911 call, do you know how to do CPR? Sir, do you know how to do CPR? His response, well, I guess I have to, right? You just found your fiance laying down in a pool of her own red fluids, and your response is, I guess I have to, right? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't really seem like you're really into it. Doesn't really add up. This is Ellen Greenberg, guys. Ellen Greenberg. So now, if you guys were watching at the very beginning of this live, I said that the cause of the unaliving changed 4 times. Well, Dr. Osborne came forward and said, yes, somebody did this to Ellen Greenberg. She didn't do it to herself. Someone did it to her. And then shortly thereafter, there was an off-the-books conversation. There was an off-the-books conversation, guys. There was a conversation between the medical examiner, law enforcement, and political figures, and they all confirmed these conversations. And what do you think happened? The medical examiner changed the cause of the unaliving to a self-unaliving. Now, if you guys don't know why it was changed, if you also didn't know, if any of you guys are from Pennsylvania, then you guys would know that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, if anything is deemed a self-unaliving or you did it to yourself, the investigation is over, it stops, it's void. How many of you guys knew that? That in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, if something is deemed a self-unaliving, there's no investigation, there's nothing. There's no statements, there's no pictures, everything completely stops. Everything completely stops. That leads me to believe that was the motive behind it so that they didn't have to keep investigating it. That was the motive behind it, in my opinion, okay? Because they absolutely did not have to investigate it. Now, you're probably wondering, well, you said that it was changed 4 times. That's only 2. Well, further on down the line, Ellen Greenberg's family decided to retain a lawyer. When they retained this lawyer, they went to Dr. Osborne and said, look, you've changed it more than once. Okay, you've changed it more than once. We want to know why. We want to know what happened in that off-the-books conversation. We're going to put you under oath and depose you. He got nervous, and he said, after further investigation, it's my opinion that it actually happened to her. Somebody did it to her instead. So they changed it for the 3rd time, okay? They changed it for a 3rd time. Now it goes back to that somebody did it to her. Now, somebody just asked, could they request a second opinion? Well, that's the 4th one. In October of 2025, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania hired an independent pathologist and medical examiner to look at all the evidence. And what did they come back with? They came back to a self-unaliving. She did it to herself. Now, you guys are probably wondering, okay, that's 4 times, but why do they keep doing this? What's the other reason they keep doing it? Well, she had a lot of hesitation wounds, they called it. A lot of superficial wounds, which is their way of saying she tried to do it, but she just didn't follow through. And that's a clear sign of someone trying to harm themselves. So my question to all you guys is, okay, if that were to be true, then how was it possible that she was able to poke herself 10 times to the back of the head and then also do it to the front of her body? Is that even a possibility to you guys? Hey, Alyssa. Does that even sound like a possibility to anybody? That you could get yourself 10 times in the back, but then 10 times to the front? No way. I have another question for you guys. Would you guys all agree, especially the medical personnel on this live, would you guys also all agree that if you have a sharp object wound to the back of the head and it hits your spinal cord, that you will be pretty much incapacitated? Yes or no? Pretty quickly, right? Yes or no? If you had one to the back of the head and it hit your spinal cord, you'd be pretty incapacitated relatively quick, correct? Exactly. So my question to you guys, again, is my 3rd question. I apologize, a lot of questions here. I'm very interactive. But 3rd question is, if that's what you have in the back of the head, then how the hell did she get the one to the chest? How would she be able to literally get it from the back of her head where it automatically hits her spinal cord, and then she gets one to the chest? How did she do both of them to herself? In my humble opinion, you could probably do one of them, maybe. And if it's anyone, it's probably going to be the one in front of you. How do you do the one to the back? Doesn't really make any sense, right? Doesn't really add up. That's why we're talking about this, because Ellen Greenberg's family, I believe her dad's name is Josh and her mom's name is Sandy. They have not received any bit of justice for this case until recently. We're going to go into that in just a minute. I want to go into some other details about this case. How many of you guys knew that Sam Goldberg actually called his uncle, who's a judge in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, called his uncle before 911? How many of you guys knew that? Bird dirt, we'll get into it. How many of you guys knew that? He called his uncle before he called 911. And we know this because if you watch the documentary at all, you'll actually see the uncle entering the building on camera before 911 even gets there, which helps us to believe he called the uncle before he called 911. But what was he doing there? Nobody knows. No one has a damn clue as to what he was doing there. No one knows. Nobody knows what he was doing there. Nobody knows. Now, Here's the next thing. Sam Goldberg, I'm not saying he's responsible, just to be very clear. Not saying he's responsible, but you're the last one to see her alive, and you're the first one to get her and see her unalived. Did you guys know that since he was the first person to find her unalived and the last person to see her alive, did you guys know he was never considered a serious suspect? Feel free to fact check me. I've already done it. He was never, ever, ever considered a serious suspect. Never once. Never once. Never once. That's crazy to me because you're the last one to see her alive and the first one to get her, find her unalived, but you're not considered a serious suspect. Now, a lot of people are asking why. We'll get into that. Let's go into the next thing. If you guys are looking for this, it's not Beth. It starts with a D. We can't say it on TikTok, but Beth in apartment 603. This is Ellen Greenberg. Now, let's go into a little bit more, okay? A little bit more. Now, let's talk about something. Bird dirt, you're good. No apology necessary. Let's talk about the next thing that doesn't really make much sense to me. How many of you guys know that Sam Goldberg's uncle, the same uncle, wanted to get into the apartment a few days later to retrieve items? How many of you guys knew that? Thanks, Whitney. How many of you guys knew that? That Sam Goldberg's uncle arrived back in the building a couple of days later and wanted to retrieve some items. Okay, so he did. He wanted to retrieve these items. So he spoke to a woman named Melissa. Melissa was the building manager. The manager goes, I don't know if I can let you up there. Let me just call the police to confirm. So she calls the police, and the police said, yeah, there's no crime scene. There's no crime. It was a self-unaliving. There's no crime. You can send whoever you want up there. It has nothing to do with the police. They can do whatever they want. She goes, well, it's a mess up there. What do I do? They said, oh, we'll send you someone that can clean it up. So they sent them crime scene cleanups. I'm like, not even kidding. That was the name of it. It's like on a blacklist. Crime scene cleanup. She allowed the uncle to go up there. She went up there with him. He retrieved 2 main items. Remember, this is Sam Goldberg's uncle, not her uncle. He receives 2 main items, Ellen's laptop and Ellen's cell phone. They're not his nephew's laptop and cell phone, but he grabs Ellen's laptop and cell phone. Why? Why? It doesn't belong to you or your family. Why are you grabbing it? So then she did ask, why do you want to go up there? And he said, well, because the door's unlocked, because of Sam breaking it down, and there's no security up there, so I want to make sure nothing gets stolen, no valuables get taken. Here's my question to you. How come he didn't take the plasma TV? Why didn't he take the TV out of there? If you guys didn't know, 2011, TVs were a lot more expensive than they are in 2026. So why didn't he take the TV out of there? There's a level of value there to the TV. It's probably more expensive than the freaking cell phone. He didn't take that out of there. But he took the laptop and he took the phone. That's very, very interesting. Now, I have a question for all you guys. If you just found me today on your FYP and you guys are enjoying the live, being prior law enforcement, you guys are getting this information from a legal lens. That's why I focus on the evidence that we have, not opinion. If you guys are liking this, press that follow button right above here. It's somewhere in this general vicinity, somewhere up there. We're going to talk about Ellen for a few more minutes. We're going to do some questions and answers, and then we're going to move on to the next case and give you guys some updates there. But again, if you haven't followed yet and you're just listening, press that follow button up there. The support means the world. It's the only way we're going to continue doing what we can for Ellen Greenberg and the other cases that we're following. Here's the next thing. Do we know if the door was actually locked? Yes or no? Do we know, or do we have any confirmation that the door was actually locked? Yeah, you guys are correct. The answer is no. We have no idea if that door was actually locked. No idea. And the reason why we don't know, you're welcome, Stephanie. The reason why we don't know if the door was actually locked was because Sam said it was locked, but no one has been able to confirm that at all. He says he had to knock that door down or in to get into the apartment. So here's my question to you. Don't you guys think that neighbors would have heard him banging on the door, yelling Ellen's name, and then barrel-assing through the door? Don't you think neighbors would have heard this? Do you guys think like neighbors probably would have heard those sounds and thought something was going on? And guys, that goes beyond Well, some people are just not nosy people. Listen, you hear someone banging on a door, yelling a name, then you hear someone barrel ass through that door. You don't have to be involved, but you can at least poke your head out and be like, what the hell is going on out there? You can also remain anonymous if you want to make a statement. Nobody heard this. Nobody heard it. Here's the other thing I want to bring up to you guys. There was a balcony, but there was a blizzard going on that day. So there was a balcony. They checked the balcony. There was no footsteps in the snow. None whatsoever. Like there was snow on the balcony. There was no footsteps in the snow. So, hey, April. So at that point, they're like, okay, they didn't come in through the balcony. So let me ask you guys this question. Hopefully you guys still, if you guys are still with me, just say hi or yes. I just want to make sure you guys are with me, because right after this next part, I'm going to bring up the update, and then I'm going to do a Q&A with you guys. But just if you guys are with me, say hi or just say yes. Just want to make sure you guys are with me on this. Perfect. Thank you, guys. So let me ask you guys this simple question. Do you guys think an intruder came in, got her 10 times in the front, 10 times in the back, and before they left, they decided, oh, I got to figure out a way to shut this door and lock it from the outside, risking someone seeing me or hearing it all happen? Do you think that happened? No. Yeah, I agree. No. It takes too much time, especially if you are using a sharp object to get someone. You're going to hear yells and screams and all that stuff. And then you're going to try to get out of there and try to shut and lock that door. You know how hard that is? You need like a piece of floss to do it. It's not that easy to do. They're not going to take that kind of time. To me, this was done inside the apartment. I will never, ever say, unfortunately, guys, with our following, I respect my following and my community way too much to say a name, because I know people will just run with it. But I think Sam owes us a little bit more of an explanation. That's all I'll say. I'm not saying he's responsible, but I believe that Sam owes us a little bit more of an explanation. Now, let me go into the updates of this case, and I'm going to do a rapid fire Q&A. And I'll explain that to you guys in one moment. Here's the updates in this case. As of a few weeks ago, it is on my page, so you guys can see it. As of a few weeks ago, the DOJ is involved in this case. That is the Department of Justice. What happens now? Well, they've requested all the evidence from this case about a month or so back. It was a couple of weeks before I reported on it. So the DOJ is involved. But what does that mean? Do you guys know what do you guys know what typically the line of events that happen when the DOJ is involved to indictments? Do you guys know how that works? Once the DOJ gets involved, do you guys know how it works from the DOJ to an indictment? Because if you don't know, that's okay. I'm going to explain it. All right. So there's a lot of no's here. So let me explain what it is. So how it works is the DOJ, they investigate the investigation. They investigate the investigators, right? So they look at all the evidence. They do their own statements. They get witness statements. They get everything they need to do. And what they do is they pile all of it together, and then they bring it to an AG or a district attorney and say, hey, here's the information that we piled up, and this is what we have. Do what you wish with it. That's it. It's up to the AG and the DA. It's not up to the DOJ. So I want to say that last part again. Once they provide all the information, it's up to the AG and or the DA, depending on the state, to make that next move of an indictment or charges on somebody. It's not the DOJ. Okay? So the best way I can explain this, guys, is if you guys have been following me for a while, the Karen Reed case, right? The DA received 3,000 pages of information, and they still went after the opposite person. The DOJ said you need to go after other people, not Karen Reed, and they still went after Karen. If you've been following me since the Jonbenet Ramsey case, they received over 40,000 pages of evidence against the Ramsey family, and the DA said, I'm not indicting the Ramsey family. It's all circumstantial. I'm not doing it. The point I'm trying to make is it's based on that DA and or AG, and as we know, Josh Shapiro is the governor there. Josh Shapiro had some connections to Sam Goldberg's uncle, who is now a judge. We don't know where this is going to go. We really, really do not know where this is going to go. But I can tell you guys right now, with the DA being involved, the DOJ being involved, it could be great, but it could do nothing. It literally could mean that they're just crossing their T's and dotting their I's. It could be as simple as that. Or they could finally hold someone responsible. We truly do not know. We truly, truly do not know. We don't. But that is the most updated information on this case, just so you guys know. So that's where we're at on this case. Next, before I do a rapid fire Q&A, again, if you guys are just following or just tuning in, you guys haven't followed me yet, please press that little follow button right up here. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you guys are from the Pennsylvania area, I'm from Massachusetts, but if you guys are from the Pennsylvania area and you guys are learning things here, and this is all, just real valuable information, again, press that little follow button up there. We're going to do a rapid fire Q&A. We're going to do that after every case we discussed this morning. This is one of 3. So what a rapid fire Q&A is, I'm one of the only creators that wants to hear from you guys, okay? Whatever questions you have, Ellen Greenberg related, my mods will pin your question. Once they pin the question, I will answer it. And I will address you and I will answer your question to the best of my ability. You're getting it through a legal lens. But again, not very many creators do this. But I like to hear from you guys and hear what you guys have to say. So again, if you haven't followed yet, press that follow button. And Whitney, when you are ready, you can start pinning comments and I will answer them to the best of my ability. We'll do it for a few minutes and then we'll move on to the next case, which is Jonbenet Ramsey. And I will give you guys the updates on that case as well. So once we start to get the questions going, we will start rolling with them. And again, I will answer them as best as I possibly can, and we'll go from there. Send your questions, guys. Send your questions. Oh, I just saw one question I'm going to answer right off the bat. How did the DOJ get involved? I believe the fact that this documentary is out, people like myself are talking about this all the time. It creates media attention. It creates a little bit of a stir. And when it does all that, it gets the right people involved. So I believe that's how it ended up getting involved. Plus, they also have a lawyer involved too. So there's a good chance the lawyer put in a request. So it's the best way I can answer that. Did the family get the phone and laptop back? Yes, they did years later. They did not get it back right away. They got it back years later. We don't know what they did with that laptop and cell phone. We don't know what information was on it that was removed. When that laptop and cell phone was in somebody else's possession, we have absolutely no idea what happened. We have no idea. Let's do a few more questions. What else you guys got? This one is, did the family ever ask for a different coroner or for another autopsy? So to get an independent autopsy, it's extremely expensive. At first, if you remember, it was deemed that someone did this to her. So obviously it looks more that way with the evidence. So they didn't obviously get involved with it. Once it changed over and they said, no, she did this to herself, they retained a lawyer and the lawyer said, we need to depose this medical examiner to see what really happened in that off the books conversation. He changed it back to somebody did it to her. And then in October of 2025, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania hired an expert or an independent expert to look at the evidence again. So to answer your question, no, they never hired or requested a different autopsy report or medical examiner. That costs a lot of money, but they had a lawyer that was going in and was involved with it for many years. So that's why they never did get an additional second opinion on that. Was there a reason why someone would do this? Mystical Misty, I saw you also trying to come up. So one thing, if you guys are brand new to me, I never bring anybody up on the lives, not on my big lives like this. You can see how many people are in it. On my super fans, I do bring people up on the screen, but I just don't do them on the public lives. There's just way too many people. So is there a reason why someone would do this? We don't know the real reason behind the criminal mind. That's what always intrigues me and why I'm just so crazy going into these cases. I would assume that there was something, that this was personal. The wounds of the sharp kitchen tool shows me that this is personal. It wasn't used by a weapon that can be discharged from a distance. For you to do this to her, you have to be up close and personal. So this is a personal motive. I couldn't answer exactly what it is because we don't know exactly who did it. But I do believe this is personal. Is her family involved in her case? And Whitney, this will be the final question because I want to go into Jonbenet. Is her family involved in this case? Her family, her mom and dad especially is. There is some additional cousins that are involved in this case that were on the documentary. They haven't responded to really anything I've had to say. They've responded to some comments, but really that's it. I've tried to get in touch with them to chat with them to get more information so we can keep putting Ellen's story out there, but they don't respond. I'll leave it at this. One person specifically cares more about their TikTok shop than talking about Ellen. So it is what it is. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to the next case. This case is really important as well, and this is the second to last case that we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to give you guys a recap and an update of this case. Again, if this is repetitive for you, just share this out and tap the screen like crazy. And once we get through the repetitive side, then we can bring it back. Now, this is Jonbenet Ramsey. A lot of people know about this case, but a lot of people don't know about this case. She was found unalived in her house December 26, 1996. It was originally reported that she was missing or abducted or kidnapped, but then she was found in the house. What I want to talk about with this case, I want to talk about some of the evidence, I want to talk about some of the conspiracies, and I want to give you guys some updates on this case. So let's talk about some of the evidence. They found something wrapped around her neck, and it was used with a paintbrush, but they are not testing that paintbrush for DNA purposes. We do not know why. The Boulder Police Chief, Stephen Redfern, did not confirm why they're not checking the paintbrush, but we do know that they are not checking it. They are not going to be doing it. Next, they found touch DNA on her underpants. Touch DNA is a skin cell. It is the most transferable airborne DNA you can have. It is like the most baseline DNA. It's not foundational, okay? You do not need to be with her. Do you guys know that? You do not need to be with her for your touch DNA to be found on her person. Do you guys, by yes or no, do you guys agree? Do you guys understand that? For touch DNA, you do not need to physically be with her for it to actually be on her person. Do you guys know that? Just looking at all your responses. Okay, a lot of you said yes. Okay, perfect. So yes, you don't need to physically be with her for your touch DNA to be found on her. So that's why, in my opinion, it's like, why did we even talk about it? Why was it even brought up? Because again, it doesn't have to, you don't have to be with them. So I'm starting to see a lot more people that said I didn't know that. So let me just keep it very simple. A touch DNA sample could be a skin cell. So if I scratch my beard and I get a skin cell on my sweatshirt, I could hug my wife. My wife goes to the gym, hugs one of her friends. Now my touch DNA is on that friend and I'm nowhere near that friend. Does that analogy land with you guys? How it can be transferable? I'm not even with that friend and my touch DNA is literally on my wife's friend. Does that analogy make sense? So that's what I meant. It was never, the DNA itself was never like, we call it personal DNA, okay? Personal DNA is like urine, saliva, sweat. You would have to physically be with that person for your sweat to be on them. You'd have to be with that person for your urine to be on them. You'd have to be with them for your saliva to be on them. So that's what personal DNA is. That means you have to physically be with the person for your DNA to be transferred to them. Now, we only have touch DNA. That's all we have. Some people are out there, there's creators that are out there right now saying things like, oh, they have saliva, they have male reproduction fluids. No, they don't. They absolutely do not have that. It is just touch DNA. It's been confirmed in evidentiary reports, police statements, and multiple documentaries that have been done through private investigators and the regular documentaries. They only have touch DNA. They do not have anything else. So again, it's the most baseline, ridiculous level of DNA. It could come from anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. So that was one thing I wanted to make sure I cleared up. Also, they are retesting all the DNA that they have on file. However, they are not going to be testing the DNA found in her underpants, which is the touch DNA that I've just been explaining to you guys for the last 5 minutes. They are not doing it because they said, according to the chief of police, Stephen Redfern, it is too degraded and too depleted and technology is not advanced enough. Those were his words, not mine. They are not going to be testing it. Just so you can hear it. I heard one person, I think it's Trish, because you had like a palm tree in your picture there. You asked, whose male DNA is it? Or whose, like I said, or whose touch DNA is it? Excuse me. We don't know. It's unidentified male DNA. So how many of you guys know that the DNA, the touch DNA that they found was unidentified male DNA? How many of you guys knew that? Just want to make sure you guys know that stuff. How many of you guys knew that the DNA, the touch DNA, was unidentified male DNA? Wow, there's a lot more no's. Okay, cool. Let me teach you guys some stuff. I'll teach you guys some stuff. Class is in session. So what they did was they collected the DNA that they had. They put it through their DNA analysis and it comes back as a male. They can tell by the gender. So they have a male. Then what they do is they try to match it in their CODIS system, which has millions and millions of people in it, to see if they can match that DNA with somebody in their system. Since they were unable to do that, it is now known as unidentified male DNA. They do not know who it is. It could literally be any male specimen in the world back in 1996, which they said there was the Earth had around 3 billion people at that time back in 1996. So it could have been anywhere near hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of men. Nobody knows who it is. That is why touch DNA is literally like the most ridiculous level of DNA there is. The most ridiculous, because you don't know. Unless we have saliva, unless we have male reproduction fluids, unless we have urine, unless we have sweat or someone's red bodily fluids, it didn't match. It could be literally any male in the world. Any male in the world. Bye. Love you. Sorry. Wife's leaving. So it could be any male in the world. So hopefully that answers the question. A lot of people were asking, who was it? We don't know. So if you guys hear a creator that goes, they have a profile on file, they're not telling anybody, that's not true. They have an unidentified male. That's all they have. However, do you guys want to hear some good news regarding the DNA? Do you guys want to hear some real legit good news about DNA? Actual good news, though. It's actual good news. Let's see. Let's see if you guys are paying attention. Let's see if you guys are listening to me. It's all about the accent. Here's some good news. They are retesting all of the DNA that they have that they're able to. Like I said, the touch DNA found in our underpants, it's too degraded. They cannot test it for genealogy purposes. So 23andMe and all that's not going to work. However, all the DNA that they originally had, they are going to retest. What does that mean? What it means is everyone that said, oh, no, this person's, no, they've been ruled out. They've been ruled out because they were cleared with DNA. They've been ruled out. That doesn't exist anymore. You are no longer ruled out. You are no longer ruled out. You are all back on the table. So that's the good news. Anyone that's been ruled out at any point no longer is ruled out. Nobody can now say, well, no, this person's been ruled out. We can move on. No more. No more. Now everybody's back on the table. Everybody is fair game. In my opinion, that's a huge accomplishment. I'm ready for that. Now, how can they tell if it's male but not know who it was? I don't know how the testing works. So see, how the DNA testing works is when they get the skin cells, when they put it into their DNA analysis, they can tell based on the breakdown of the chromosomes. And I don't want it to get political here, guys. But the chromosomes, whether XY, XX chromosomes, that's how they can tell if it's a male or a female. Once they get the male or female, they take that and they try to match it in their CODIS system, which has millions and millions and millions of people in that system that have been arrested, have fingerprints in the system, anything like that. If they match it, they now have someone who has been identified. If they cannot match it, it is unidentified. So that's how they know if it's male or female. So hopefully, I think it's C. Hopefully that answers your question. Now, let's go. You're welcome, C. Now, let's go into the next thing about this case. I want to talk about another big theory about this case, fingerprints. How many of you guys have heard that they found Burke and Ramsey and Patsy's fingerprints on the bowl of pineapple and the glass of iced tea? How many of you guys have ever heard that they found their fingerprints on those bits of evidence? Kayla, yeah, you know me. You're correct. I'll go into that. Perfect. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And you know why? Because they live there. Their fingerprints are supposed to be on those things, guys. My fingerprints are on stuff too. Doesn't mean I did anything wrong, right? They live there. Their fingerprints are going to be on there. It's completely and utterly irrelevant. If they found a fingerprint that did not belong there and it was unidentified, now we got something to look at. Now we're looking at some stuff. But they didn't have that. They only had Patsy's fingerprints on it and Burke's fingerprints. But they lived there. So they're supposed to have their fingerprints on there. Like that's 100% the way it's supposed to be. Now, here's the next thing. Someone said this a second ago and I answered it kind of like, I think her name is Kayla. But I want to go into that. So people were asking earlier, well, how do people get into the system for the DNA match? If you've ever been arrested, you are in the system, which leads me to believe if someone's not in the system, that means someone who's never, ever been arrested and they've never been put into the system. This is someone that does not have a criminal background. So that's why it comes up as unidentified, because the person who allegedly had that DNA sample has never been arrested. Now, let's go into some of the conspiracies. How many of you guys know that opinions are not facts? Yes or no? How many of you guys know that opinions are not facts? I was going to say, you guys better buckle up because this is going to be interesting. Yep, opinions are not facts. So when people come back and they go, yeah, he did this, she did this, I go, do we have proof? No, then it's not a fact. You're basing it on your opinion. And that's why here we are, 29 years later, And we still don't have answers because people are leading with opinion. Let's go on one main conspiracy. How about this? Whose pineapple did Jonbenet consume? Whose pineapple did Jonbenet Ramsey consume? Remember, she had undigested pineapple found in her system, in her digestive system. Whose pineapple was it? Let's see. Let's see what you guys get me. You guys are doing really well so far. Valerie Martinez, you're the only one. You said the brother. Anita said the brother. Mary said the brother. Angela said her brother. MW said her brother. Great. Can you prove to me that it's her brother's pineapple? Yes or no? Anyone who said her brother, can you prove that her brother gave her the pineapple or it was her brother's pineapple? Anyone who said it was the brother, can we prove that? See all the no's? Remember my question prior? Opinions are not facts? That's an opinion. That's an opinion. And that's where the conspiracies start to go. And there's no disrespect to anybody there. There's no disrespect to anybody there at all. But the thing is that we don't have proof of that. We don't have any proof of it. We know she has pineapple in her system, but we don't know that it's Burke's. Truthfully, we don't. We don't know if it's Patsy's. We don't know if it's John's. We don't know if it was actually hers. Truth is, guys, none of us know whose it was because no one said it was, and she's not around to say whose it was. Here's the next question I have for you guys. This one's a good one. You guys ready? Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Do you guys agree with me, yes or no? If we had 5 medical experts in one room and they all had to diagnose the same person, do you guys agree with me that you would not have all 5 of those experts give you the exact same opinion? Yes or no? If you had 5 medical experts sitting in a room and they all had to diagnose one person, do you all agree that they would not all have the same exact opinion? See how you guys all agreed? Remember that. Remember that. How about a detective? Let's say we get 5 detectives in a room and they all look at the same crime scene. Would you guys agree that they're not all going to have the exact same response or reasoning to that crime scene? You get 5 investigators. Are they all going to look at the same crime scene? Are they all going to give you the exact same response? Exactly. So let's talk about Patsy Ramsey and the handwriting. How many of you guys believe, based on the experts, that Patsy wrote the letter? How many of you guys believe, based on the experts, that Patsy wrote the ransom letter? Based on the experts. I'm just looking at the responses. I see a lot of yeses. Well, then all of you did not listen to my last 2 analogy questions because it's based on expert opinion. Those experts that looked at her handwriting, it's expert opinion. Remember I told you guys, I'm prior law enforcement, so I talk to a legal lens. This is how we would sit with each other and try to figure these things out. It is based on expert opinion. Remember the doctor analogy? That's medical expert opinion. You all agreed they wouldn't all have the same response. Remember I said investigators? That's professional legal opinion. You all agreed they won't have the same response. Well, it's the same thing here. This is expert opinion on her handwriting. We don't truly know if it's her handwriting. We don't, because some experts said, yes, it is her handwriting. And then another one said, no, it's not her handwriting. It's all based on expert opinion only. Do you guys all agree? The only way we can prove it is if there was a camera or someone physically saw her write it. Do you guys agree? Only way we can physically prove that Patsy actually did it was if there was a camera to show it and or somebody physically saw her write it. So you guys are all saying yes. I want to be very clear. It's 1,400 of you. I am not disrespecting your opinion. I'm just trying to help you guys step out of the opinion bubble and realize that you can't lead with opinion. We have to base it on facts. And I can promise you, if you think outside that opinion bubble, you'll be like, wow, I never actually ever thought of that. They're right. We actually have no proof that she wrote that. I'm not defending her. I'm just saying we actually don't have any proof of that. Now, do you guys want the next big conspiracy right now? Perfect. If you guys are brand new to my channel or you're not brand new, you've been listening to me for a while and you haven't followed yet, press that little follow button right at the very top of the screen. I know a lot of you are just listening, but you're not following the channel and you're not following the platform. Press that follow button up here, guys. The support means the world. All the taps, all the shares, all the gifts, I see you. We're going to talk about this for another few more minutes, and then we're going to do a rapid-fire Q&A, again, with Jonbenet Ramsey. Here's the next big one. Again, thank you guys for the follows. If you haven't followed yet, follow right up here. Now, let's talk about this. Jeffrey Epstein. If I hear one more thing about the Jeffrey Epstein connection to Jonbenet Ramsey, I'm probably going to lose it, guys. We don't have a single bit of evidence linking Jeffrey Epstein to Jonbenet Ramsey. We don't have a single bit of evidence, guys. None. None. Because a blonde girl is sitting on Jeffrey Epstein's friggin' shoulders in a picture. People are, Jonbenet. Yeah, they're attached. They're linked. Jeffrey Epstein and Jonbenet. Guys, no. No. Just because a girl is literally sitting on his shoulders and it's blonde does not mean it's Jeffrey Epstein and Jonbenet Ramsey. Wow. Wow. It is ridiculous. The friggin' posts that I see out there. It's nuts. The things you guys tag me in. I'm like, are these creators using their squash? Are you looking at this with your eyes open? It doesn't make sense. Just because you see a blonde girl on the shoulders of Jeffrey Epstein, you don't just say, oh, that's Jonbenet Ramsey. They're definitely connected. Can I ask you guys all a question? Give me a yes or no. Guys, I'm in it. I'm in it. We're in grind mode. If you don't know what that is, sit back, buckle up, grab some popcorn. Do you guys want me to like prove this to you? All you gotta do is just say yes or no. It's really simple. Just say yes or no, and I can prove this to you. Very, very simply. That picture that everybody's talking about, where Jeffrey Epstein has a blonde girl, a young blonde girl on his shoulders, bring that to a courthouse. Bring that to a jury and try to identify that that's Jonbenet Ramsey. You know how fast that judge is going to say that's inadmissible? You cannot properly ID that person. Do you agree? Bring that picture to a courthouse exactly how it is. They will say it's inadmissible. You cannot confidently ID that person. Just because people like it looks like her does not mean it's friggin' her. It doesn't mean it. What about the other picture where people are like, oh, that looks like Ghislaine Maxwell? You guys know the picture. I can show you guys real quick. It's very simple. Very, very simple. Here's the picture. It's right here. I will be completely upfront with you guys. It does resemble Ghislaine, whatever the hell her name is. It does resemble Maxwell. It does. I will say that. It does resemble her. But it doesn't mean it's her. It does not mean it's her. And I'm not trying to be like an anti-conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying it looks like her, but we don't know that it's her. We have 3/4 of a profile here. We don't have her ear. We don't have the back of her jaw. Nothing. Nothing, guys. We have nothing. AI and Photoshop can do some pretty interesting things. Bring this to a court of law and say, that's Ghislaine Maxwell. They'll say, we don't have a full picture. That is inadmissible. Hello? Hello? Hey, guys, can I ask you guys a question? Just give me like a yes or a no. Can I ask you guys a real serious question real quick? Just a real serious question. Just give me a quick yes or no. Real serious question. Did you guys know that Patsy Ramsey also had short dark hair? And I understand. You look at that picture and at that angle, I get it. I get it. But Patsy also has short dark hair. And so did her friggin' pageant coach. The point I'm making is a lot of people had short dark hair then. Doesn't mean it's Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's move on to the final conspiracy theory regarding this case. And then I'm going to do a rapid fire Q&A. How many of you, I did a video about this morning. How many of you guys have heard about the Diane Harris thing? How many of you guys have heard about the Diane Harris crap? Or Hallis. There's a creator and the creators out there that are talking about Diane Hallis. My God. Do you guys want to hear this? Let me ask you guys a question. What is it called when someone says, this person told me this, but they didn't hear it from the source? What is that called? What is the definition called if someone hears something from somebody else, but they didn't hear it directly from them? It's called hearsay, right? Remember that. Remember that. This is what's being put out there right now. Diane Hallis used to work for John Ramsey, okay? I don't know what her what her capacity was, but she worked for John Ramsey. And she says, I got an anonymous phone call in 1997 from a female that said that Patsy Ramsey was trying to strike John Ramsey because he was doing something bad to Jonbenet. She missed and then hit my child. Cool. Who was it? Oh, we don't know because that person never came forward. Okay, so you're just telling me what somebody else said, right? So you're telling the Globe, which by the way is like the most high profit, low fact checking out there. Feel free to go fact check me on that one, okay? You're just saying this person called me and told me this. Guys, what is that called? You're already saying it. What is that called? Remember, she goes, oh, this person called me and said this. What's that called? Yep, that is called hearsay. That is not a real statement. That is hearsay. Also, another thing that was said in that same statement was, oh, by the way, it was Pam. Pam is Patsy's sister. Great. Has anyone heard Pam ever confirm this story? Yes or no? Remember, this Diane Hallis woman said it was Pam, which was Patsy's sister. Did Pam ever confirm this story? You guys are 125% correct. She never confirmed the story. So why are creators putting it out there? Why are creators putting it out there? For clout? They're putting it out there to gain a following? It's not real information. That's not going to help us get justice for this little girl. It's not worth it. Follow the facts. Follow the evidence. That is what my page does. So if that's the kind of page you guys want to follow and that's the kind of page you guys trust, then you guys should be pressing that follow button right up here. Because at the end of the day, we only talk about the facts of this case. We do not talk about the crap, conspiracies, and all that other stuff. Because that's not going to help us get to where we need to be. Now, rapid fire Q&A. Whitney, you are on. You choose your questions. We will do a rapid fire Q&A. If you guys don't know what that is, if you haven't been hanging around for a bit, my mods will choose the questions. I will answer them to the best of my ability. Any question you have, I answer it. Not a lot of creators do this. They don't really want to hear from you. I do my best to hear from every one of you as much as I possibly can. So whenever my mods are ready, they will choose the questions and I will answer them. Starting with Deborah Bernard. Who do you think did it? I think it's somebody law enforcement and or politically attached. Why? Because there was a break-in in the shared office of the Boulder County District Attorney's Office and Boulder Police. A break-in in June of 1997, and no charges were ever found. There was also no forced entry ever found. No forced entry ever found in that shared office space. So that leads me to believe it's somebody politically and or law enforcement affiliated. Some say she was gone before they came home from the party. How does that explain the pineapple? Well, Sarah, she could have had the pineapple at the party. It was a Christmas party. There's a good chance that she could have had some pineapple there. Great question. We don't know when she actually passed away. We do know from the medical examiner that they put her time of her unaliving between 10 p.m. on Christmas Day and 6 a.m. on December 26th. That's an 8-hour window. So she could have been gone already, and she could have had the pineapple at that point at the party, but we truly don't know when she had it. We know she had it, but we truly don't know when she actually had it. Do you think this will ever be solved? Mo. I do believe this will be solved. I believe we'll get a lot of answers in 2026. I do believe now that the new Boulder police chief is involved, I believe we are going to get the answers that we're looking for. He's very big into social media. And I do believe, yes, we will get the answers, this year. What do you think the reason was? I believe that Jonbenet saw something that she didn't want to see, or she shouldn't have seen, or she heard something that she shouldn't have seen or heard. And I believe to keep her quiet, they had to do something to her. And I think they went a little bit too far and they had to, quote unquote, finish it off. Just like the ransom note. The ransom note was this long, drawn out ransom note. I believe they started the ransom note and they're like, oh no, we have to end this. Look how far we have to go. And I think they just kind of kept going with it. Because the ransom note made no sense. To me, it was just one big distraction. Do you think they will revisit Susan's involvement in the case? I think they've already looked at Susan in this case. Whether she's involved or not, we don't know. If you guys didn't know, all the grand jury testimony and the statements that they made were all sealed. There were some that were revealed, but not much. But like 90% of them are still sealed. So we do not know what Susan Stein actually said when she testified in front of the grand jury. We don't know who anybody from that party actually talked about because all of those documentations are sealed. Is it true that she had DNA under her nails? Also, it was true that she was essayed. So Trucker Robert, she did have DNA under her nails. It was just skin cells. So it's just touch DNA, just another form of just touch DNA in a different location. They found skin cells on her underpants, and they also found skin cells under her nails. Still just skin cells, still unidentified male. We don't know whose it was. Just so you guys didn't know, she could literally dry her hands on a towel and get those skin cells under her nails. That's very, very common. Was she essayed? There was a medical examiner that said yes and a medical examiner that said no. We don't truly know. They did say that she had some form of, I don't know the word that they use, hematema something. They use a specific word saying that there is proof that she was essayed at one point, but they don't know with what or for how long or how long ago. Whitney, let's do 2 more questions after Haley. Who do you think wrote it? I believe the person who wrote it was not a criminal. I believe the person who wrote it as an afterthought. I believe the person who did it is not a seasoned person. I'd rather not tell you who I believe actually physically wrote it because that's a good way to get sued. But I can tell you it was somebody that I don't believe this was one person. I believe this was a group that did this, at least more than one person. I don't believe it was a brother though, because the brother was 9 years old. I don't believe it was the brother. Is it Maritza? Why do you think the Boulder police did such a poor job? I believe they did such a poor job, and this will be the final question, Whitney. I believe that Maritza, that they did such a poor job because they automatically went in there suspecting, the family. And I think that's the biggest reason why they did a poor job. They leaned with the fact that the family was the one who was responsible. And I think they rolled with that the entire way through. So at that point, they were like, we already know who we think did it. So they're going to roll with that. And I think that's the theory or the road that they took. We don't know if they were paid off. We don't know anything like that. We don't have any evidence to support that theory at all. So guys, let's go on to the third and final case update. I told you guys we would do 3. We started off with Ellen Greenberg, and then we went to Jonbenet Ramsey. So again, now we're going to go to the next case. If you guys haven't started following yet, please follow right now before I change this case. Again, not a lot of creators do stuff like this. Not a lot of creators give you guys the receipts, and not a lot of creators give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. So again, before we move forward into the third and final case, press that follow button right above your screen. Really, really appreciate it. This one is more of a local case. It's a case that's, I've been talking about for a little bit now, and it seems to get a lot of people worked up. I like cases like that. This one here is really, really important to me, mainly because she was ex-law enforcement. This is Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a North Andover police officer. Now, here's the next thing I want to say about Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Hey, Marissa. Here's the next thing that I want to say about Kelsey Fitzsimmons that I believe is a really, really big thing. She didn't do a damn thing wrong. She didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. And I know that's going to be met with some controversy, but I'm going to explain it. See, Kelsey Fitzsimmons was a North Andover cop. She had a baby boy. She suffered from postpartum depression. Now, she left the North Andover police force, temporarily to get checked for postpartum depression. The medical team cleared her to return. So she did return. Well, she was supposed to meet her fiance with the baby boy in the park one day in June 2025, just 6 months ago, or 5 months ago. And he never showed up, the fiance. He was a firefighter in North Andover. Didn't show up. So she goes back home. She goes home, and what happens, guys, about 4 hours later? Do you guys know what happened 4 hours later to Kelsey Fitzsimmons? This happens. 1 second. Sorry, the picture failed me. That's her right there with the baby. She gets to the door with 3 North Andover police officers serving her a restraining order. Now, why the restraining order? Just in case you're wondering, why this restraining order? Because the fiance said that she threatened to hurt him and or the baby. They were in fear of their lives, so they filed a restraining order. So her own 3 police officers decided to be the ones to serve the restraining order. So I want to show you guys this picture here that you're already looking at. Here's the second picture when it pops up in a second. You can see this is Kelsey walking in. That's the officer that greeted her at the door. You can see the second officer back here. Here he is. He's wearing gloves, and you get the third officer. So now you have 3 officers that entered the home with Kelsey Fitzsimmons. 3 officers. Now, they're male officers, but we're going to go into that in just a second. 3 officers enter the home. Now, you're probably wondering, why do you need 3 officers? And why does one have gloves? Well, because she had weapons. The fact is, guys, she had weapons on her. Well, not on her person, but she had weapons in the house. Number 1, she's a North Andover cop, so she has a duty weapon. Number 2, she had a personal weapon. So part of the restraining order is you need to retrieve those weapons for safety reasons. So that is why they were wearing gloves. They needed to retrieve those weapons. Now, why do you wear gloves? Well, because you don't want to get your fingerprints all over them. And then number 2, that those could literally be in an underwear drawer and you don't want to touch anything. They could be in a toilet, like a bathroom area. You don't want to touch anything. That's why they're wearing gloves. Now, let's talk about the next bit of issues with this. How many of you guys feel that having 3 male officers is probably not the best idea when dealing with a female? Yes or no? How many of you guys believe having 3 male officers dealing with a female is probably not the best idea? Okay, now here's the reason why I'm bringing this up. There is absolutely no rule or law that you need a female officer to be there. I want to be very clear about this because a lot of people don't understand that. There is no law that a male officer cannot do the same job as a female. There's no law that says a female must be present. There's no law. I want to be very clear about that. However, I want to ask you guys a question. All the females that are on here right now, isn't there areas of your female body that you probably would rather a female check? Yes or no? Is there areas you could conceal something in your female body that you'd rather a female check? Yep. And that is my point. If you were hiding something in your body, somewhere in your body, you'd probably want a female to check that or grab that. Because a guy can't do it. He can't do, you guys do know that a male cop cannot do that. You know that, right? If you have something in your bra, you do know a male cop cannot take that. You guys are all aware of that, right? That's a you-know-what harassment suit or assault case. You know that, right? If you have something hidden in your bra, a male officer cannot go and retrieve it. They'll say, pull your bra out and shake it. That's what they do. Did you guys know that? So I want to make sure you guys are all with me. If there's something in your bra, they'll tell you to lift it out and shake it. They cannot just go into your bra. Okay? They can't do that. That is why a female should be present. Now, let's go into the next segment about this. What happened that day? Well, I showed you the picture, guys, right? Now it's a video as well. It's on my page. You guys can go see it. There's a video on my page about this. Now, here's what I want to go into. Do you guys agree that she just seemed to open the door and let them in freely and willingly? Do you guys agree with that? And again, I have the video on my page. She literally goes to the door, opens it, and then allows them in. So do you guys agree that she just opened the door willingly and calmly? Okay, well then how does she get pew-pewed once in the chest? How does it go from that level of comfort and trust to discharging a firearm? Doesn't really make much sense. How does that just escalate to that point? Now, we're going to go into the protocol in 1 second. We're going to go into that protocol in a moment. Just stand by. No, guys, she's still alive. She was shot once in the chest. She's still alive. Now, let's go into the next piece. This is really important as well. Now, how many of you guys here are law enforcement, married into law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, retired law enforcement? How many of you guys here are involved in law enforcement in one way or another in some form of capacity? How many of you guys, again, married in, current law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, anything like that? Okay, if you guys are involved with law enforcement or married in, I'm going to ask you guys all a question. Feel free to fact check me. If somebody pulls a weapon on you, you are not discharging your firearm once. You're probably going boom, 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 a couple of times and then falling back because of the anxiety and the nerves and the adrenaline involved in that situation. You're not shooting once. You're going boom, 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 like that. And you're probably falling back. Would you guys agree with that? Okay. So being prior law enforcement, I can fact check myself, right? So how do they only have one shot? Just one to the chest. One single pew pew to the chest. How did that happen? How do you have just one? If you see someone, remember, I actually didn't say this. The police officers are saying that she took out her weapon and she got it from somewhere and then tried to fire it at them. And it did not discharge. It jammed. And they just pew-pewed once. If you see someone taking it out and pointing it at you, you're most likely not going to just pew-pew once. You're probably going to go boom, 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 and that's it. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Now, the baby was not with her at this time. The baby was given to one of the other officers, and the officer had to take the baby out of the home. People ask, why didn't CPS get involved or DHS? Whatever. The reason that Child Protective Services wasn't involved was because that child was going to a family member. They didn't need Child Protective Services involved at that point. The child was not in any danger. They have someone that can take the child. Since the father of the child, which is also the fireman in town, he said, I'm doing this. I want to file this restraining order. I can take custody of my baby, of my son. So they took the baby and exited the home with the baby. Now, here's how it all went down from what we know. Here's what we know. Focus here. Here's what we know. Hold on one second, Liz. I'm going to go with it right now. Here's what we know. From what we know, what the officer said was she went into the room to go retrieve her weapons. When she went in there, she turned around and tried to fire at the officers. The officers in return fire, striking her once in the chest. That was the story. Kelsey's story is, I went in there, I grabbed my weapon, and I put it to my own head because I didn't think I had anything else to live for. I lost my baby, I lost my job, I didn't know what to do, so I went and put it to my head, I pulled the trigger, and nothing happened. It jammed. And when that happened, they fired at me, and they struck me once in the chest. There was no body cameras in North Andover, Massachusetts in June of 2025. I do see your questions. There was no body cameras. Now, I want to ask you guys a very controversial question. Are you guys still with me? Are you guys still with me here? If you are with me, anyone who is not following yet, what are we doing? We can't just be listening to these lives and not following along, right? Support the platform. Press that follow button up here. I have a very controversial question I want to ask you. But guys, press that follow button up. There's 1,300 of you and only a few hundred are actually following. The rest are just listening. So press that little follow button. It's right up here in this general area. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Here is my controversial question. The cops are saying that she turned the weapon towards them and they fired one shot at her. In my humble opinion, being prior law enforcement, if someone faced a weapon at me, I'm not firing once because you don't know if one is going to put down the threat. In law enforcement, you are told to stop the threat. You don't know if one single shot is going to stop the threat. So you're most likely going to be all amped up with adrenaline, boom, 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 and that's with it. Boom, 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 boom. That's what you would see if she were to turn the weapon on them. However, here's the controversial question. Here it is. Listen, listen, listen. Here it is. Here's the controversial question. Her story, in my opinion, makes more sense. She grabs the weapon, goes to put it to her head. They already have drawn their weapons at this point, and they're telling her, Kelsey, put it down. Kelsey, put it down. And the second she clicks it, they fire once. That, in my opinion, is exactly how it happened. Do you guys agree with me or not agree? That's the controversial question. To me, that makes more sense because at that point, your weapon's already drawn. She goes to put it to her head. She goes to click it. It doesn't click. They fire one shot to stop her. That makes more sense to me. Or more logical sense. Laura Lee makes a good point. More logical sense to me. Because if you grab a weapon, you quickly turn it on somebody, they're going to be boom, 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 boom. They're going to multiple times. They're going to do it multiple times. To me, that is the one. That makes more sense to me. That she went to go turn it on herself. They already drew their weapon. They had it pointed, and at that point, knowing that they already had it pointed, that's it. They already had it out. And they were telling her to put it down. She didn't put it down. She clicked, boom, stop the threat. That to me makes the most sense. Now, the chest is technically center mass. If you guys don't know what center mass is, it's this big area here. You always go for center mass. So again, she was hit right here in the chest. They could have been aiming for the shoulder and missed. Could have been aiming for the arm and missed. We don't know, but they were aiming at center mass. Now, here's what I want to go into with you guys. How many of you guys agree that was a breach of protocol and procedure? Yes or no? Danny girl, because it's not easy to do in a high stress situation like that. They were probably trying to aim at the shoulder or arm, but with that high stress, they fired. And if you've ever fired a weapon before, when you go to fire it, sometimes you move. A centimeter move can make that bullet go a completely different direction. They probably did try to aim in that other area, but missed. Now, they definitely had a breach of protocol and procedure. Do you guys want me to explain what should have happened that day? Because I can promise you, after I explain how the procedure and protocol went, or should have went, excuse me, it might make a lot more sense to you guys. Do you guys want me to explain how it should have happened? Perfect. I'm going to explain exactly how it happened, or how it should have happened. They should have knocked on the door, said, Kelsey, we got some paperwork for you. Before we go into the house, I want to read this paperwork to you so you know exactly what it is. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, you are right now have a 209A, a restraining order, which means a no contact order regarding such and such. We can't say his name. These are the stipulations. We need to retrieve the weapons you have in the home. We need to retrieve your child, and we need to give custody of that child to such and such. They should have done it right there, not allowed her to just walk into the house. At that point, if you're going to walk into the house, you keep her on eyeball. What is eyeball? Eyeball is eyeball watch, which means someone stands there with her while she's sitting on the couch, and you then say, Kelsey, her name is Kelsey. Kelsey, where are the weapons? We need to retrieve 2 weapons. Where are they? Well, one is here and one is there. Okay, one officer stays with her. The other 2 officers go and retrieve the weapons. Now, if she has other weapons, that's different. That's different. But if she has 2 registered weapons, those are 2 weapons that we know about. Those are the ones that they retrieved. Then they can ask, do you have any other weapons? No, I don't. Okay, thank you, Kelsey. You'll get something in the mail shortly thereafter, or all your information is on this sheet, depending on what it says. Thank you very much. And, I'm sorry this happened, but we're just doing our jobs, and you leave. But what happened here, from what we're told, is that they just let her walk into the bedroom and go get the weapons. Why would you do that? Why would you just let her go walk in there and go grab her weapons? That doesn't make any sense. You should have just done it yourself and had someone on eyeball watch with her. That is what the policy and procedure and protocol is supposed to be. And I can tell you right now, that is going to come up in the trial. Now, let's talk about the updates. If you guys didn't know, she is alive. She's actually alive and well right now. In June, she was in the hospital for a couple of months because she had a punctured lung and a broken rib from that wound. She was granted release. However, the stipulation of the release is that she had to blow into a breathalyzer. Well, if you guys didn't know, if you got a punctured lung and a broken rib, it's not easy to blow into a breathalyzer. Guys, have you ever tried to blow into a breathalyzer without a punctured lung? You're like it's not easy, okay? It's like trying to blow up a little freaking water balloon. It's not easy at all. She had a punctured lung and a broken rib. She couldn't blow into the breathalyzer. So what do you guys think happened? She inadvertently violated the terms of her release. And when she did that, Marissa, Marissa, she violated the terms of her release. And what did they do? They put her in jail. Put her in jail because she violated the terms of her release. Now, her attorneys were trying to fight that and say, look, we have to have other terms of her release. She can't blow into the breathalyzer. She literally has a punctured lung. She can't do it. They didn't care. But what ended up happening in December, about a week before Christmas, it's on my page. You guys can see it. A week before Christmas, she was granted that she could now be released from prison, and she can now still blow into a breathalyzer. Now that she's healed, she can blow into the breathalyzer. So since about a week before Christmas, she has been out. She's with her family. Her trial starts in March. Last thing I want to say before I do a rapid fire Q&A, guys, with this is, guys, we don't know why. We don't know why a breathalyzer was used or part of it. We don't know if she was drinking. We don't know if she had a drug issue or a drinking issue. We have no idea. But that was part of the stipulations of her release. She had to blow into the breathalyzer. None of it makes any sense, but that's what the judge said. So, before I do a rapid fire Q&A, this is the final case that we're covering on this live. We will be having a super fan in about 40 minutes from now. If you are not super fans, you can sign up right now. It's right by where you comment. You can see the little heart, okay? You guys can become a super fan if you absolutely want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. We will be having a super fan in about 40 minutes from now. Also, her ex-fiance is a fireman in the same town. So that is why he put on that restraining order, and he also got custody of that child. He felt in fear of his life. Here we go with the questions. If you guys haven't followed yet, like I've said this before, not a lot of creators do this, guys. Not a lot of these creators ever talk about, questions and answers. They just kind of talk and move on. I want to hear from you guys. Not a lot of creators do it. So again, if you haven't become a super fan, you can press that little heart at the very bottom of the screen when you go to comment. Once you do, you can join my fan club. You just saw it pop up, and then you can follow the prompts to become a super fan. But again, if you haven't followed yet, follow right now. What was she charged with? Attempted, starts with an M, of police officers, and A and B with a unaliving weapon. Other thing, I see Ange asked the same question 72 times. She wants me to discuss the text messages. Trucker Robert, I'm going to answer you real quick. But the text messages that are being talked about is that there was a discovery piece, and that is why she was supposed to go to court in a week, by the way. They pushed it to March because there was a discovery piece. The discovery piece was that they found text messages from her fiance to those reporting officers that delivered the RO, the restraining order, and they need to know what those text messages were. So that is the text messages that Ange, who's one of my super fans, decided to send 71 times in the chat just to make sure I saw it. Ange. All right, Trucker Robert. Could the male officers say they let her get the weapons because she was a fellow? 100%. 100%, Trucker Robert. That's probably exactly why they did it. Marissa, don't enable her, please. But yes, Trucker Robert, yes, I believe that's why they sent her over there to go get the weapons, because yes, she's a fellow officer. They probably let their guard down and just simply said, hey, just go get them, bring them to us. Yes, but again, I'm a black and white kind of guy. I'm not a gray area guy. You still got to follow policy, protocol, and procedure. And to me, that wasn't following protocol, policy, and procedure. Kaylee, shouldn't CPS have been there to take the child? No. So in Massachusetts specifically, I cannot speak from other states. Massachusetts specifically, if there is a family member who can take custody of that child, especially temporarily, CPS does not need to get involved. The fact is they had the fiance, and they also had family members that could take custody of this child, and that is why you do not need CPS there, especially in Massachusetts, to take this child away. If there was no one to take this child, absolutely CPS would be there. But if there's somebody that can take custody of that child, they'd rather not get CPS involved. They give custody to that family member. How could the boyfriend say he was being harassed by her when he agreed to me? So, Sweet Pumpkin, I think I get that. So I believe that when he made that plan to meet with her, and their son, he was doing the restraining order and doing everything that he had to do on the back end to get her served that day. I believe that was just one distraction to get her out of the house. I also believe that he assumed that the restraining order was going to be served then, and it wasn't served then. So to do it outside of the house and do it where it was happening, like in a public area where she can't react and she can't do anything. But I think that they didn't have time to do that RO or that restraining order set. So I think that setup just didn't work. She ended up going home, and that's why he never showed up to the park that day. Was the husband friends with the officers? We don't know. So that was her fiance. We do not know if, is it Tony or Tanya? Thank you for becoming a super fan. I appreciate you. He was not a police officer. He was a fireman, and that was her fiance. We don't know if they were quote unquote friends, but we do know that there was text messages sent from him to those officers. And those are the things that they're looking at part of their discovery process as we speak. So hopefully that makes it. Hopefully that answers your question. Do you believe she was set up from Trish? I do. I think she was set up. I do. I think in many ways than none, I do think she was set up. She suffered from postpartum depression. I do know that she was cleared, but like, guys, I'm not a female, so I'm not going to disrespect any female on here and try to talk about something I will never, ever, ever know about. And I mean this with all due respect to every female on here. But I'm confident to say that, like, when you suffer from postpartum depression, it doesn't go away like that. There's always some little remnants of it that kind of still linger. So when they said she's cleared, I don't think she's like 100% healed and we can all move on. I feel like there's still little bits that still hang around that are still there mentally that do require some assistance. So I do believe she was set up there, and I do believe the postpartum depression was used against her. That's just my opinion. I might not be right. My wife says I'm not right about pretty much anything. But you know, I don't even know how to say it. Miss Mo Envy. Was there any past DV on him? Nothing that was ever reported at all. There was nothing ever reported at all about past DV on him at all. Nothing. Can you guys stop agreeing with my wife? You guys are supposed to like me. Whitney, let's do 2 more questions after this. So we'll do 3 altogether. 2 more. Did she have any episodes of inappropriate behavior at work or just to the boyfriend? No, just to the boyfriend. So when she had the baby and she suffered from postpartum, she was acting kind of like off. So she actually made the statement to the chief of police and said, I don't think I'm okay. She returned her weapon, her badge. She went and got, she sought medical attention. The medical attention was the one that cleared her to return. And that was it. That was literally it. Like, there was nothing. There was some speculation apparently that she struck the boy or the husband or whatever, the fiance at one point in the face. We don't have any reports on it at all. We don't. So I don't know like where to go with that. But it was said, but again, I don't know if it's true. Any history of alcohol abuse? No, not from anything that's been made public. I do know there was something going on in the Carolinas. Like she had something that happened to her that she had to dust up with the law in the Carolinas at one point. But it wasn't, it wasn't anything serious to the point where she still got a job here. But there was something there. But we don't know exactly what it was, but nothing that had to do with any kind of alcohol abuse. Whitney, one more question. We are all done. Some of that. So she was still working at the time. Was she fired after this before being found guilty? So she hasn't been found guilty at all. She hasn't gone to court yet for this. She's been arraigned, but she hasn't had her trial. Doesn't start till March. She was working at the time. She was cleared to return to work. I believe she did not do a shift yet after she was cleared medically to return, but she got her weapon and her badge back and she was back active in full duty. But I don't believe she actually did a shift yet at that time. And she was not fired. Obviously, with everything that happened, she was placed on administrative leave, and that's where she is right now. She is placed on administrative leave. I do not know if she's on paid admin leave yet or not. I would assume she's not on paid admin leave due to the severity of the case and the fact that her own police officers are involved in this. So I don't believe that at this point that she's on paid leave. She does have a good lawyer as Cindy Teague. She has the same lawyer. I forget his name. Oh my God. It's either Mark or Tom. Same lawyer as Turtle Boy. She's got a very, very good lawyer. And I think in my own opinion, I think it's going to go well for her. Problem is there was no body camera, so it's one word against the other, and that's it. Guys, I'm going to hop off. The Superfan is in just about 30 minutes, so I want to make sure that I'm getting Mark Betterow. That's it. Thanks, Kaylee. I knew it was like Mark or Paul or Tim, Tom, whatever I said. Superfan's in about 30 minutes. I want to go grab some coffee and probably a bagel because that's just how I roll. If I'm not fed, I end up turning into like a bear. But I do appreciate you guys, all the new followers, all the taps, all the shares, all the likes, everything, guys, the gifts. I see everything you guys are doing. I appreciate it. It's hard for me to talk to every single one of you. But I do greatly appreciate. Can you give me one? Sure, Kayla, anything you want. But I do appreciate what you guys are doing. I do see you guys. I know it's hard for me to respond to you all, but I do see you. Other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We will be live tomorrow. We have a super fan coming up in 30 minutes. Really, really do appreciate you guys. Take care and have a good rest of your day, guys. See ya.